This is Mac OS Ken.
A snapshot of iPhone 15 orders. Everybody is still talking about the weather. And Ming-Chi sings the blues. It is Thursday, the 28th of September, 2023. I'm Ken Ray, and this is news from Mac OS Ken. Brought to you by yours truly and sponsored by BetterHelp. Online therapy. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/MacOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/MacOSKen. Interesting stats on the iPhone 15 line from Apple Insider. You know the consumer end that nobody pays attention to? It may be more popular this year than iPhone 14 was last year. Citing data from investment bank UBS, the report says wait times for the low-end iPhone 15 models are longer than 2022. What does that mean? We do not know. Apple Insider says it's possible that macroeconomic pressures in certain regions are pushing consumers who need or want new iPhones to opt for less expensive devices. Of course, it's also possible that Apple's just not making as many of the consumer-focused phones this year, with most of the buying public eyeing the Pro line. Speaking of the Pro line, the piece says wait times are, on average, 4 days shorter for the iPhone 15 Pro and 1 day longer for the 15 Pro Max compared to the iPhone 14 Pro lineup in 2022. Of course, between the cluster thing that was the supply chain last year and the cluster thing that is consumer spending this year, it's tough to know what that means too. Quoting Apple Insider again, in the case of the iPhone 15 series, shorter lead times for the Pro models might suggest lower demand or better supply chain efficiency, while longer lead times for the base models could indicate higher demand or potential supply chain issues. I know Wall Street hates uncertainty, but there truly is something refreshing about seeing somebody say, "Who knows?" UBS doesn't seem to like it, though. The firm has a neutral rating on Apple shares. The firm's price target on the shares is $190. The back-to-work whistle has blown in Tamil Nadu. No doubt you remember the stories this week of the iPhone-producing Pegatron plant in India that was shut down due to a fire. On Tuesday here in the States, it was unclear whether the plant would open at all this week. On Wednesday here in the States, news that it was back in business. Seeking Alpha had a spokesman for Pegatron saying production at the plant has resumed. Is it just me, or are software updates from Apple starting to feel like a daily deal? Between major updates, updates, and security fixes, feels like we're going into settings every 5 minutes. Maybe it's just the time of year. Anywho, get ready for more. Mac Rumors ran a few pieces Wednesday heralding the first developer betas of Apple's next biggish updates. Those include iOS and iPadOS 17.1, macOS Sonoma 14.1, watchOS 10.1, and tvOS 17.1. If you're a member of Apple's developer program, back to work. The rest of us, let's talk about the weather some more. I told you yesterday of complications with weather complications in watchOS 10. Seems for some, the place on the watch face where weather info should be is blank, though clicking on the complication and opening the weather works properly. I also told you that Apple had fixed that issue for Apple Watch Series 9 and Apple Watch Ultra 2 with watchOS 10.0.2. That was an update made specifically for Apple's latest wearables that Apple released Tuesday. Turns out, though, it does not do much about the weather. Another piece from Mac Rumors explains a number of users who initially saw the complication working properly after updating to watchOS 10.0.2 are once again seeing broken weather complications, suggesting any fix after the update was temporary at best. Not to be a naysayer, but it doesn't sound like fixes are actually fixing it right now. A piece from my download blog says Apple has a couple of suggestions. In a support document on the issue, the company suggests resetting your location access settings. You can do that by going to Settings, Privacy and Security, Location Services, Weather. Once there, turn it off and turn it on again. Not kidding. Under Allow Location Access, the piece encourages users to choose Never, wait for 20 seconds, then turn it back on, choosing either the permission while using the app or widgets, or Always. If that doesn't do it, Apple suggests resetting location and privacy settings. For this one, it's Settings, then General, then Transfer or Reset iPhone, then Reset, then Reset Location and Privacy. Those are Apple suggestions. iDownload blog has a bunch of others, including the 12-hour, 24-hour clock toggle we talked about yesterday. Others include setting or resetting the proper city in the Watch app on iPhone, restarting your iPhone and your Apple Watch, and making sure you're running the latest versions of iOS and watchOS, which strikes me as an amusing suggestion at this point. iDownload blog concludes its piece saying Apple should fix the weather complication issue in a future watchOS 10 update. I don't think anyone disagrees. The question is, will they? More news in a moment, but first a word from today's sponsor, BetterHelp. Online therapy. Have your thoughts got you thinking about therapy? Think about BetterHelp. Therapy isn't always easy, but starting therapy is with BetterHelp. It's amazing how hit or miss finding a therapist has been in the past. We were limited by who was in our area and whether we were lucky enough to hear about the right one. BetterHelp is different. You fill out a short questionnaire and they work to match you with the right licensed therapist for you. And if they're not the right fit, you can switch therapists anytime for no additional charge. And there's no going. It all happens on your phone, your laptop, your tablet. Everything happens online in a system that's meant to be convenient, flexible, and right for your schedule. Whether you're kicking around an old issue, weighing a change in your life, or being driven to distraction by something else, get a break from your thoughts with BetterHelp. Visit betterhelp.com/macOSKen today to get 10% off your first month. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/macOSKen. BetterHelp.com/macOSKen. TF International analyst Ming-Chi has been kind of a gloomy Gus on the future and Apple hardware this week. Not saying whether he's right or wrong, I don't know. But he is gloomy. On Medium on Wednesday, he wrote a post that wasn't about Apple ostensibly, though that is the part the planet grabbed. The post was about the photolithography machine maker ASML. Their work figures into the production of computer chips, which the analyst says will not be in high demand next year. Samsung won't need ASML as much, Qualcomm won't need them as much, and Apple will not need them as much in the analyst's estimation. Quoting his post, Apple's 3nm demand for 2024 would be below expectations. In 2023, Apple's MacBook and iPad shipments declined significantly by approximately 30% and 22% to 17 million and 48 million units respectively. The sharp decline is attributed to the end of work-from-home demand and diminishing user appeal for new specifications, Apple Silicon, and Mini LED. Looking ahead to 2024, he says, Apple's 3nm demand is negatively impacted by the lack of growth drivers for MacBook and iPad. According to Ming-Chi Kuo, current market consensus as the semiconductor sector will bottom out by year's end. He's not saying that's not true, but he does think it could be the second quarter of 2024 before a turnaround begins. Gloomy. Then there was this Twitter post from Ming-Chi on Wednesday. The development of the Apple car seems to have lost all visibility at the moment. If Apple doesn't adopt an acquisition strategy to enter the automotive market, I doubt that Apple car can go into mass production within the next years. Wait, all of the next years? Gloomy. Now here's a prediction from Ming-Chi with which I do disagree. And, unlike a lot of times, I will not be happy to be proven wrong on it. The Analyst hit Medium on Tuesday, casting doubt on sales of Apple Vision Pro. Hang on a sec, he thinks Apple's going to have trouble finding buyers for its $3,500 headset, for which people will also have to buy $250 headphones if they want it to sound its best? Alright, sounds silly when I say it that way. The way the Analyst sees it, the problem may not be demand, but supply. And also demand. At the outside, he says the most Vision Pro units Apple could make and thus sell next year is 600,000, well below the 1 million units the market expects. Based on who knows what, the Analyst also says Apple may have canceled the low-cost Vision Pro version plan. He says the market was looking for that in 2025. If that product does not happen, and if Apple doesn't lower the cost of the Vision Pro we know about, shipments may not pick up. As things stand now, a second version of Vision Pro may not go into production until the first half of 2027, which kind of slows momentum for the platform. Slows, does not kill necessarily. From a technical point of view, writes the Analyst, I believe that the Vision Pro will undoubtedly provide users with an excellent experience. However, the question is why users need this product. To his way of thinking, Apple's headset may take longer than the market expects to become Apple's next star product. Glue me. Do me a favor. If you see Ming-Chi ask him if he needs a hug. And finally today, something I keep forgetting to mention. We heard last week from Apple execs why the old AirPods Pro 2 won't do for Apple Vision Pro, while the new AirPods Pro 2 will. A piece from 9 to 5 Mac says it has to do with the inclusion of the H2 chip in both Apple's headset and the new earables. If you want to see the explanation, the interview with Brian Tong, where Apple execs discuss it, is up now on YouTube. For the record, I don't know that anybody is upset that the technology has moved forward. For me, at least, the issues are calling them the same thing as something that doesn't do the same thing, and making people pay $250 for an optimal experience after they've paid $3,500 for the thing they're experiencing. But I'm persnickety. macOS Ken, brought to you by me, and sponsored by BetterHelp. Get 10% off your first month at betterhelp.com/macOSKen. This show is also supported by people like you, patrons through Patreon. Find out more and add your support at patreon.com/macOSKen. Advertising handled by Backbeat Media. Online at backbeatmedia.com. You can reach me a couple of ways. Info at macosken.com or call 716-780-4080. Until next time, that is news from macOS Ken. I'm Ken Ray.
Ciao.